3, 2, 1. What's up? Hello and welcome to another episode of The World of Japanese Cinema. I am your host George, and this is the show where we dive into a new classic every week and talk about what makes such films amazing watches and the directors masters of their craft. And I am joined here today with a very special guest. Adam, would you like to introduce yourself?
I am not George. I am not the host, but I am a guest. I am Adam, his flatmate and fellow lover of cinema, especially the movies that we're going to talk about today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So an absolute figurehead in Japanese cinema is the giant that is Godzilla, and I thought it was only a matter of time before we finally delved into a Godzilla film. And there are so many classics to be found in the franchise, some having dark stories about people trying to survive the nightmare of a living metaphor of nuclear warfare, others being some of the most unhinged, campiest, acid trip-like films you'll ever see in your life. The original Ghidorah is a masterpiece with like a dark exploration of the trauma of the atom bombs and having a very gripping message on ethicalities of science. But there's so much that's already been said on that film. I will probably come back to reviewing the original, but this week I wanted to review one that we had recently seen and give our thoughts on it. This one being the 1991 film Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah.
Great name. Yeah. It really gets right to the point.
Oh yeah, monster against monster.
Yeah.
Here we go. So would you like to give your thoughts on that? Anything you'd like to share on that film first?
I enjoyed it. I had never seen it. As much as I am a lover of this franchise, I have not seen a lot of these old ones, including this, and another one that we'd watched before that, which is actually the prequel.
Yeah.
Godzilla vs. Biollante.
Yeah.
This one I think was all right. It was fun to watch. It was goofy. It's monsters fighting, but there's time travel involved, and it gets wild quickly. There's living dinosaurs. And that's not even Godzilla being a dinosaur, just literally is a dinosaur.
Yeah. You really get into like this film really very kind of unusually just tries to really delve into a backstory of Godzilla, and you see him as like a dinosaur just stomping a load of American troops on the beach, and it's just it's not really been subtle with that. It goes right to the point.
Yeah, it really throws in the deep end. It doesn't hold back. It's I like that. I like that kind of aspect of it. I mean, there's some more serious Godzilla movies, but this one, it seemed more goofy, but I feel like there was a little bit of a serious twinge to it. I mean, actually, I was reading the other day that the reason this movie came out 7 years later, I think, in the States, 7 or 8 years in the States. I think one of the reasons was what you just stated, was because there's a depiction of I don't think it's a T-Rex, but something like that. Yeah. It's on a beach in Bikini Atoll. Yeah. And he saves a bunch of Japanese soldiers by killing a bunch of Americans who were attacking. The Americans, by the way, hilarious.
Yeah.
Their portrayal was amazing.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Because I remember you saying, when it got released in America, there's like few claims that this film was like anti-American in a way. I mean, like with the way that they're treated and stuff, but I'm not too sure like what I could like have a bit of information on that, but me personally, with my opinion, I don't really see any.
I didn't either. That sounds like a sign of the times.
No, of course. Even the director himself just says he has nothing against, of course, the American audience. But it's the kind of dialogue that they give the Americans in this film. I feel like it's quite weird. Maybe it's something in the translation department, but it's just like the kind of like dialogue they have is a bit hilariously unusual. Like when Godzilla in his dinosaur form is just on the beach and attacking the troops, and one of them just shoots him with a rocket, and he just hears him say stuff like, "Yeah, take that, you dinosaur." It's like, it's another scene where like they're on the ship and like they see like a UFO like go across, and one of them just says they should report it to the captain. His mate replies, "What? That we're being invaded by little green men? Let's keep it as our little secret. A story that you can tell your kids when they go to bed at night." And I'm like, okay, do people talk like this? But yeah, still, they were funny, the Americans. But yeah, so back in the 60s and 70s, we had a bunch of like even campier classics directed by Ishiro Honda. But in 1984, Godzilla was reintroduced and modernized with a bit of a more serious tone again. Then, of course, we had the next monster face-off film in 1989 with Godzilla vs. Biollante. And now we have Godzilla's biggest nemesis, King Ghidorah, a three-headed golden dragon with lightning powers. Hell yeah, he's the full deal. Reintroduced and modernized for the next Heisei adventure. So basically in this film, we have a science fiction author called Terasawa writing a monster novel, and he learns of a group of Japanese soldiers who were stationed in World War II on a beach, and they were saved by a dinosaur which from the American forces, which our protagonist theorizes was mutated into Godzilla after a bomb was tested on the island. And meanwhile, a UFO lands near Mount Fuji. It goes from 1 to 11, doesn't it? And then like a bunch. I mean, we have the dinosaur.
It's like 11 to 12. The dinosaurs same troops.
With, you know, yeah. But yeah, we have a UFO casually, of course.
Of course.
If you've seen the old Godzilla films, you know it's just like everything's like 1 to 11. They don't. It's just about like I don't know.
You know what you're getting into. These
Absolutely.
At least I hope so.
Yeah. When the Japanese Defense Force investigates, they're greeted by humans in the far future who claim Godzilla's completely destroyed Japan in their time, and they reveal a plan to go back in time to World War II to remove the dinosaur before the nukes and prevent Godzilla's creation. So our cast join these people in going back in time, and they witness the dinosaur killing the American soldiers, of course, and they do as planned, teleport the dinosaur away from the island, but while doing so, the future people I'm just calling them the future people. But actually, their official title is the Futurians.
The Futurians, yes. It's like unobtainium. It's very imaginative.
Actually. So, while they move the dinosaur, they secretly leave 3 small creatures called Dorats in Godzilla's place, which are then exposed to the radiation instead. Yeah, so they all like fuse together to become the 3-headed Ghidorah. And so when they go back to the present, so the Futurians, I love the name now, I'm just keeping it to that, yeah. So they reveal their true motives, they use Ghidorah to subdue Japan and issue an ultimatum. And so one of the Futurians called Emmy, she reveals that in the 23rd century, Japan's actually now an economic superpower that surpassed the US and Russia, and so they travelled back in time to prevent Japan's future dominance by using Ghidorah to destroy the present-day Japan. So with no Godzilla anymore, it looks like King Ghidorah now rules the skies with an iron fist of lightning, which is quite epic.
Almost 3 heads of him.
Hell yeah. I mean, yeah, his introduction is actually really cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
It is cool.
Yeah.
Flying over.
Yeah, the way they operate is 3 heads in this film. It just makes it look really cool.
It does work. It does work.
Hell yeah.
Even the way Godzilla looks as well is really cool. By the way, full spoilers if we didn't mention that for this 1991 movie.
Yeah, just this podcast might have a few spoilers in it, but hey, that's to be expected with all of my shows, so yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, it is honestly the suits in this look really good. I think Godzilla, as you told me, it's a new suit for this one. This is the reintroduction, because obviously of all these time travel things, he comes back. And he comes back looking better. It's a huskier suit. I think it has nicer teeth on it. It looks more intimidating. It's definitely beefier.
Yeah, definitely. It's I think they definitely gave a new suit from the they have a new suit for every film. I think it was like 984, like Biolante and Mist. They're all different suits, but I think this is the suit where they stuck for a few films with it, and it makes sense because it's definitely a good, beefy, kind of intimidating kind of look for Godzilla, and I think he kind of matches nicely with Ghidorah, with the two kind of the way that the two are very dominantly designed.
If Godzilla suits were James Bond's, which one would this Godzilla suit be?
Oh, this one I'd actually say Daniel Craig.
Really?
It means business kind of more serious tones sort of one.
See that.
Yeah, you kind of feel like it feels like a modernized, slicker take on the character. Whereas if you had like a suit from like Godzilla vs. Megalon, that would definitely be Roger Moore.
Oh, I see. They're a little more goofy.
Yeah, the goofy but lovable. We all love it. Yeah. Wait. Another note. Wait. So, do you know any other Godzilla suits you would see as James Bond, or do we need to watch more films?
I feel like we might need to watch more films of that, but that might be a good comparison as we move forward.
Oh, yeah.
I hope to watch a lot of these with you before for the year's up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. To be fair, the original's definitely Sean Connery. It's a classic.
Definitely. I was thinking about if this one could be Sean Connery. I said absolutely not.
Yeah.
The original is great. Apparently, they also had cement mixed in with that suit. It was very heavy.
Oh yeah, but they had to pour like, a cup of sweat from the suit after every take. Like Haru Nakajima, the suit actor, how he managed to do that. He's like blinded as well. He can't see where he's going, and he's surrounded by
small eyeballs.
He's surrounded by fire as well. It's just like that man's a living just daredevil. That
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Yeah. Still thinking, well, what suit's going to be George Lazenby? But we'll find out in due
that
time.
Yes.
Stay tuned to the next episode.
Exactly. Tune in next time.
Yeah. So anyway, after a bit of plot convenience though in this film, we find that since World War II, a Russian nuclear sub sank right at the very spot where the dinosaur was moved to, miraculously, and also released enough radiation to mutate it again into a sleeping Godzilla at the bottom of the sea. So a Vietnam vet, what the hell am I saying? When I say vet, my mind instantly goes to Vietnam.
That's fair.
That's where my brain associates the word from, but of course no. A World War II vet called Shindo, he sends his own nuclear sub to try and awaken the beast, and it ends up making him stronger.
Yeah,
and
he discovers this Godzilla walking towards him. He goes, uh-oh.
Yeah. The thing is, like, this film, I think this and Biollante, they go hand in hand with having a couple of the most out of nowhere, hilarious deaths in any film I've ever seen.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, because I think like Shindo, okay, another spoiler. He was the head of the troops in World War II who were saved by the Godzilla dinosaur, and so like he sees Godzilla coming through now in the present day. And he has like an emotion. He feels overwhelmed with emotions because
he's savior.
Yeah, he sees him as like a savior, but he's like, because he saved his men, but he's destroying things. So what's going to happen now? But then Godzilla comes face to face with him, and you have a sort of an emotional moment, thinking they're just staring at each other in understanding, and then Godzilla just blasts him.
Then Godzilla understands that he's a monster.
Yeah. What you expect.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, I could compare it to like a scene from Biollante. The thing is, it's so out of nowhere, it's so hilarious. Brilliantly done. I don't know if I can actually sort of like, I can just deliver how funny it is by words of mouth, but I'm going to try. Okay, so basically in Biollante, you have like an assassin, and he ends up like jumping one of our main characters, and they end up having a massive like fist fight in like a field with when he has a rifle, but he tries to get him he tries to stop him from using it, but then he finally pushes him away. The assassin gets the upper hand, and then like he ends up stepping on like this platform. I think it's like
a lightning
rod. It's like a lightning rod that it transmits to like a plane in the sky or something. I don't know, but like he ends up accidentally standing on it, and then you have like a 10-second showdown. He points his gun really dramatically at our character, and it's like a real tense moment, and then suddenly just the laser goes up, and it's just, but it's done so suddenly. You just have a little sound effect. It's like,
he looks up and goes,
yeah. He's like, huh? Looks at the sky and then just, and then the other character, he's just like, huh, all right. He just turns and walks
away and goes back to his friends.
It's just the most.
That absolutely seemed like there was a plot that they forgot about. Because this happens in the last 5-10 minutes of that movie, and they clearly forgot about it.
This shows why it's kind of hard to balance human drama in a monster film. You've had a massive fight with Godzilla and Biollante, so your mind's on a cool down now, and I think the film even acknowledges that, because one of our characters they're waving Godzilla away, and then just one of our characters just gets shot instantly by the assassin, and then it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about the side plot. Yeah, then it wraps it up so amazingly. Yeah, but so anyway, Godzilla's back.
Yes, Godzilla's back, and he means business.
How convenient. And so it's up to our cast and a defective member of the Future People to basically save the day and sabotage the Future People's control and stop both giants. Mm-hmm. To put the film to perspective, out of like a few cheap like computer effects for the time, it looks great overall. Yeah,
it does. Honestly, it does.
Yeah, the suitmation action with the battle feels huge, and the movement's great. And King Ghidorah, he originally appeared in the 1965 film, I believe, Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, where he was known as like an outer space demon who would destroy planets. But here he feels the same, but with a slicker feel. But of course, his backstory is completely redone. Where it's just like,
Was that so? That was designed for this movie, I assume, right? because all I've known of King Ghidorah is that he is a space monster lizard.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he is. The original films
Space
didn't really.
King Ghidorah, yes.
Yeah, they didn't really care much for the backstories in the older films. Yeah, it was like he's in like the film you like, Destroyer of Monsters,
Yes,
wasn't he?
I love that movie.
I haven't seen. I know that like.
You've never seen it?
No, I've never actually seen it myself. I know of it.
It's terrible, but it's the best movie I'm ever gonna see.
Yeah, I know of it. I know like this has so many. It has all the monsters that had appeared so far crammed into it. But
it's the Avengers Endgame of the Godzillaverse, and it's absolutely incredible.
I heard they all just unfairly just like 20v1 King Ghidorah at the end.
Yes, it's an incredible scene. They're stomping on his head. There is a long scene. There's a long scene at the end where Godzilla is fully just stomping Ghidorah's head.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the other two heads are also being held down and bitten, and it's just they bullied him. Like he was out, bro.
Oh, Godzilla!
They bullied back.
Godzilla curb stomping since 1966. Hell yeah! Oh my god! But yeah. What to do next? Yeah, of course, and of course you also have the new Mecha King Ghidorah form introduced as a reformed weapon after Godzilla defeats the original, which is a nice twist on the monster, especially considering that like Mecha Godzilla is also a renowned classic enemy of the franchise. Toho really seems to be a huge fan of making robot versions of everything. I even remember they did like a Mecha Kong to King Kong. Do you know that?
No, I didn't.
And like they did a Japanese spin-off of the giant gorilla. It's like King Kong escapes, and they have like a robot version of like Kong. Like just have like a massive kaiju fight against each other.
I know in the new Godzilla Kong, Kong has an arm. He has a robotic arm. I haven't seen it yet, but I know
I saw it. That's a discussion for another day. It's a decent film, but it's like a sort of prosthetic arm they give him. But yes. The Fist of Fury. But yeah, but yes. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to say that they go to the future and bring Mr. King Ghidorah back and put a robotic head on him.
Yeah, it's a nice twist in it. Well, I remember I played the absolute hell out of that character in Godzilla Save the Earth. Have you played that?
Is that basically in an arena fighting?
Yeah.
Yes, I have played that.
I love that game so much. Oh my god. But yeah. So story-wise, it shows a continuation of new, fresh themes. So like, Biollante, it had like a very science-heavy plot and had like a plant monster that was born from like cell fusion and cloning, which tied into like the big science crazes that were happening at the time with like animal cloning and plans for things like Dolly the sheep and how careful we need to be in this new risky age. So Ghidorah also gets in with like a fresher theme. So like with time travel, like new wave sci-fi, and some concerns for the future with like economic domination after the Cold War. And you can definitely see this film as a product of its time when you compare it to other big blockbusters that were happening, like Terminator and the sequel. And they even seems to be a direct copy of like the T-1000 character from Terminator Judgment Day. You have like the human android in this film that comes with future people, which was a film that came out the same year.
Yes.
And you have like an almost like a complete copy of like the running scene where he chases the main cast, where like he ends up running super fast like to them.
This is that speed run.
Like the T-1000 does. It's almost identical, yeah.
I remember us going, wait a minute. We Googled the...
something seems weirdly familiar about this, and
And I guess that could have been an example of parallel thinking, because like I said, it came out the same year, so it's hard to just edit that in.
Yes, it's like who came up with it first,
It's probably chicken.
Definitely. I mean, like, have you heard of like that film, Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, actually?
Yes.
Because that came out like a few months before the original Godzilla came out, but they both have real similar stories about a monster awoken through like nuclear tests and stuff. So it's like that back to like Japan and the US, who did it first.
Isn't that the guy who directed the Beasts of 20,000 Fathoms? Doesn't he credit himself as almost creating Godzilla, or there was something?
I'm not sure if it's credited himself. But yeah, I think that American film came first. It might just managed to, It's quite ironic that film. I think, the people who made Godzilla, they wanted to do it like stop motion like that film, but they couldn't because of like budget constraints, so they ended up having to do it with a guy in a suit, which is now an irreplaceable style in the franchise now. Like, you can't imagine Godzilla being stop motion, can you? Itself.
No.
Yeah.
Could be an interesting stylistic choice if they make another one.
Yeah, true. But, what else? Oh yeah, back to that. Again with the Japan-American thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like definitely considered controversial at the time of its release, and and with its World War II depictions, you had like Gerald. His name is Gerald like Glorbitz. He was a Pearl Harbor survivor. He's of the Pearl Harbor Survivors Association, and he appeared alongside the director. And he condemned the film as being very poor taste and detrimental to American-Japanese relations. And yeah, and Honda, like the director for like the Showa Godzilla films, he criticized Omori, the director of this film, and he says the scenes in which Godzilla attacks and crushes the Americans went too far. It is a bit of like the gore in that is a bit excessive actually from the Godzilla films, where he's like actually just crushing the head like them in. But
he was just a dinosaur at that point.
Yeah, but if you see some scenes from like the Showa, like Godzilla films, they have like a few scenes where. Have you seen some of those scenes where it's just like the violence suddenly goes 1 to 100? Godzilla starts bleeding. One of the monsters has like a chainsaw through his chest.
What?
It's like, yeah, Gigan. They're really innocent fun until one small moment, and you're just like, hey, hang on, how'd that get in here, bro? Yeah, but
whoa, whiplash.
Yeah, but yeah, Omori has denied any sort of like criticisms. He said, quote, the American extras in the film had been happy about being crushed and squished by Godzilla.
Actually, to be fair, they didn't seem that unhappy about it.
Yeah, man. Especially if I'm in like, if he shows like a scene with like Godzilla attacking British forces, I'll be hell yeah, sign me up for that. I want to be in a Godzilla film. Yeah. Oh, he says like,
I'll be first in line. Step on me, Godzilla.
Oh yeah. So Amore, he stated like, quote unquote, I am not anti-American. I love American films. I've always watched those films. Most American movies are made the way I make my film. I just wanted to make a movie with American army people in it and put the rumors to rest. I love American movies, but looking at all the ones I've watched, Americans never lose, and so I thought they should lose at least once. Why don't the Americans ever lose? And you know what? That is a very fair point from Mr. Amore, definitely. But
it sounds like he hates Americans.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that.
I can imagine this film without the Americans. Just their dialogue. I don't know if it's just like in an ironic way, but the dialogue's just iconic.
It's really funny.
It's so cheesy, but I love it.
It's very cheesy. I mean, like you watch a lot of movies from that era that aren't made in America and include Americans.
Yeah.
A lot of it is cheesy dialogue and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of funny, weird dialogue given to American, like English-speaking actors in like Japanese monster films and shows, like in the 90s especially. I remember like there's a show like Ultraman Gaia in the 90s as well, and in that show you have an American character who speaks English, and I remember there's one scene in the show where it's like our characters, they go to like this crash site, and it's like proposed as being tragic, and there are a couple of members of the team that are assumed to be dead and amongst the wreckage, and our American character, he looks at it and he says, "Oh no, this is too terrible, unbelievable," and it's
just wags his finger.
Oh yeah, literally, tisk. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So but yeah, with this film's success though, like Biollante, it had been the most expensive Godzilla film at the time.
Biollante was?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Do you know how much it was? It cost?
I don't know exactly. If you want to have a little shaky look, but yeah, it had low attendance with audiences. It was basically a massive flop, which is a shock considering that's in my top 5 so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Godzilla creator Tomoyuki Tanaka, he sought to revitalize the series by bringing back like the iconic monsters and like such as Ghidorah here, and get in more just energetic themes of time travel, which makes sense. It's definitely a much campier film than Biollante.
Yeah, this goes 0 to 100 quickly.
Yeah, because like the director of Biollante actually, he'd initially hoped to start a standalone Mothra series actually.
Really?
Like a solo Mothra series, so like which never actually took off because like obviously Mothra would have been more difficult to market overseas. She's not like an icon, not like Godzilla, but. So Tomiyama took over from Amori as main director. He gave this film its own style, and what else was it? Yeah, he got more fantasy elements, such as the pre-80s Godzilla films. Like, of course, if you see any 70s Godzilla films, you see like just things with mad scientists and more simple like robot themes and underground people. So it makes sense.
I think I found tentatively. I found the budget. So apparently, it reported $10.7 million. So I guess it's the U.S. Budget making it, but its box office may have only been $5 million.
What? Wait, so that's a half.
That's like half, which is crazy because they made another one.
I know. Well, that's just I guess they put all their chips on one bet here. So. Yeah, Godzilla or nothing, but yeah, still that's a hefty loss. That oh my god.
Yeah. Well, I remember you saying earlier that Godzilla vs. Biollante, I think, did make a loss, and I was looking at the box office for Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, and I tentatively again, I may be wrong, but with a budget of 1.5 billion yen, which I think is about $12 million, it grossed 1.45 billion yen. So that also lost money, but if what I just said about the other one, it made a lot more.
Yeah.
So I wonder. I guess they must have made a lot of merchandise like money from these.
Yeah.
They had to have. Even in the movie, one of the characters, the writer, I forget his name.
Yeah.
He has a toy Godzilla on his desk.
That's true. Yeah. I remember even in Biollante, you saw like a lot of like Godzilla like figures hanging around, which is a bit of a weird thing to have like in a Godzilla film.
Yeah, he's a monster that destroys your city every week.
I know, yeah. I was just like, Godzilla.
But he looks so cool. I gotta
destroy the city, Godzilla. Make the headlines. But yeah, it's interesting though, like how like it almost just completely flopped off the Biollante because I think from what I remember, because the films have been going strong for like over 20 years up until like 76. They had like Terror of Mechagodzilla. That one flopped slightly, and that caused like the downfall. Like there were no more Godzilla films until 84, I think.
Holy moly!
So like to have like one film flop, kill off the franchise, and to have the second film of your revival do the worst flop the franchise has ever done, but just to continually persist and make a new one. That's actually. That takes a balls out.
It does. It takes determination, and they just wanted Godzilla to exist.
You gotta get that Goji love in you, bro.
When I know that we talked a little bit of Ultraman the other day.
Yeah.
When did that air?
The original show was in 1966, but yeah, 66. The next one was 68, but yeah, it ran from 71 to 74.
And you said that the hiatus of the Godzilla movies was when the 70.
Actually, yeah, that reminds me.
Did that fill the gap?
Yeah, because like. When I think it was Ultraman Leo, that was the last show of the old era, so that ended 74. But the reason why it flopped and they didn't make Ultra shows for ages was because of a massive oil crisis in Japan.
Whoa.
I think, yeah, it caused mass economic devastation and that stopped Ultraman. But I'm not.
That's the worst part of that tragedy.
Definitely, yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah, but I don't know if that affected Godzilla's, because it was at a similar time, so that might have been a massive factor in it as well. But yeah, because the thing like Ultraman, they started doing Ultraman at the similar time as Godzilla again. It was like they tried one show in 81, which is close enough to Godzilla's 84. Okay. But yeah, I guess they both had like different situations though with directors. And
but maybe that filled the monster fight gap that was left. But even the episode we watched, they reused the Godzilla suit, just put a cool little frill on it, like the Dilophosaurus from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, there were a lot of funny ways of like getting around budgets and time constraints and that. One of the monsters in the original Ultraman is just like a reused Godzilla versus Mothra suit, but they built like a massive gecko's like frill around him to try and make him look different, But literally in that episode as well, though, Ultraman he defeats the monster by ripping off the frill.
It's really violent.
It's just like, okay, so what was the point now? It's just he's literally just Godzilla just walking around. Yeah, that's funny. Because like in Ultraman, they also like repainted a lot of monster suits and redid them, which I guess.
Yeah, it just saves on budget, isn't it? Yeah. Especially if there's an oil crisis going on.
Yeah, definitely. But what else is there? I'm looking through these notes right now, but yeah, this is covered all the budget stuff. You got any more thoughts on the film?
Well, yeah, I think it was like you said earlier. The shooting in this movie, as in the shots, are really well done. Like when King Ghidorah blasts in and flies over Japan. I think I read somewhere as well that he blasts over Hiroshima. and then he starts being mad at it. But it's all shot. The scaling is good, especially when they go back to the 1940s and they're with the. I'm gonna call it a T-Rex. I don't think it is, but they're with the T-Rex back then. It looks big.
Oh yeah.
And it's usually filmed from, well, I think exclusively filmed almost from the human's perspective, which I think is probably the best way you can ever scale something.
Oh yeah, that's a real classic method when you're doing monster films. Like shooting it from like a real low angle, and just doing it from the bottom of the set, looking up, like with a bunch of miniatures, especially. That's always a great way to get a sense of scale, definitely, rather than just doing it, up front, like you're there with the guys in the suits. You need to give it a bit.
I will say that in the modern Godzilla era, the 2014 Godzilla, they did shoot that perspective very well because they made him look like 10 times larger than ever before. But they only really zoomed out on him near the end of the movie. For like 3/4 of that movie, which is one of the reasons people didn't like it actually, was you got glimpses of him, A, and B, it was all shot from humans, so you're just always staring up at this huge creature for like 10 seconds. Yeah. And it was really good for scale. The scale went out the window the next ones.
Yeah, definitely, because I remember like, now I think not too long ago I looked at some clips from that. I just got a bit frustrated with like, and of course, why they keep cutting it away kind of at the last second. But I remember when I actually saw that in like cinemas when I was like about 12 or something, and I remember actually being there and just being in awe at the scale of like, just seeing Godzilla just step down for the first time and then he just get a glimpse as citizens look up at him. It's just that was just an experience like no other. That just like before even the action starts, just like the initial shock of being in his presence is just done amazingly. But I guess that's why like with the sequels didn't really do that well, because it didn't catch that sense of like giganticism.
Well, I think they threw the scaling out and replaced it with more monster fights. Like I think the sequel to that one is Godzilla King of the Monsters,
King of the Monsters,
which I know is not the best movie, but it has there are a lot of monsters in it, and it's almost exclusively shot from head height of Godzilla, so it's the scale is out the window. They have a King Ghidorah fight versus Godzilla there, and they're just zoomed out. It's like, and he's walking. You can tell at the end when he's walking through buildings, he's big, but there's not really a great sense of scaling in that.
Yeah, literally. So for that film, I basically just like. It's like if you put into like an AI generator, like show me a monster fight, and like, okay, here are two monsters just clashing right in the air, but like without any kind of like proper like cinematic spectacle to it. But no, it does its job, I guess.
I went to see that with my parents. I think I had just landed back home when I watched it.
You know what? Maybe that's why like I didn't get that film. I watched that film on a plane or like at the tiniest screen with like a couple of glasses of wine in me, and I'm like, this film isn't as good as the first.
It's bad and wrong. We went to the theater. I think it was the day I landed back home. I had done like I was flying from here back home, so it was 24 hours of traveling. And the night of, we went over to the theater, and this movie is loud.
Oh yeah.
It is a loud movie. I could feel my brain vibrating.
Oh yeah.
And we're at the King Ghidorah fight, which is I think about halfway through or something. And again, it's I left with tinnitus. It was very loud. And I look over at one point, and my dad just passed out. I was like, how? No. I guess it's that boring that it's...
No, literally, I had the same experience with Godzilla X Kong. Like, that sounds weird saying that out loud now. Just Godzilla and Kong. Yeah. This is
Godzilla After Dark.
Yes, this is not like an 18+ show, but yeah, I saw that in like a 4D film, but I forgot what 4D actually was. I thought it was like better quality 3D, and then just like the seats started like just flying everywhere. It felt like being in a crashing bloody like plane, a crashing rocket jet for like 2 hours straight, and people in front of me, the popcorn was flying everywhere and stuff. And then like halfway through this, after getting my skull rattled and like my back rearranged, I heard something, and it was like 4 people snoring behind me, and I'm like, how can you snore? How can you fall asleep through this? This is just literally. This is the ultimate do not go to sleep exercise, man. It's just like, oh my god.
It throws me.
So
So do you think that in recent years the Godzilla franchise has taken a bit of a nosedive or plateaued, or I mean it's obviously become more Western.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's now like America's.
No.
It's
so. Did you see
America's monster versus Japan?
True. Yeah. The American MonsterVerse franchise has definitely sort of taken another step forward, I think. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I have like some positive thoughts in the last film, Godzilla and Kong. But have you seen the new Japanese film Godzilla -1?
No, so I never saw that, and one of the reasons is because we're drinking Asahi. Yes, we're drinking Asahi in honor of. So that's a little bit. No, I haven't. I've heard only fantastic things about it, and I was wanting to save it because you only get to watch something for the first time once, which is, I mean, at this point it's pretty stupid. It's pretty old at this point. So, not old, but I do need to watch it because I've heard it's the best one since almost the first or something.
Oh yeah, people are saying it's
returned to form in the best of ways.
It's only comparable to the original. I can definitely see that. It's just like. You had Shin Godzilla. That was a good Japanese film.
Yeah.
But it's more on it's more focused on like the bureaucracy and just like you're not trying to get attached to any characters. The whole film is about like it's saying how ridiculous and just like corporate the country's bureaucracy is, how everyone's focused on reputation and like avoiding responsibility while the matter at hand is so urgent, needs to be taken care of, but politics just gets in the way. Whereas with -1, you're actually attachable to the characters, but like Godzilla, he's a whole different metaphor. He's like a metaphor of like, he's a much more explicit metaphor of like trauma and facing your own demons after like
he looks
war.
It's terrifying.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah,
I've seen the suit, and it is, or I'm not sure if it's a suit,
like
but it's
mostly CGI.
But it is
still
scary looking.
Yeah, and they actually do bring back that like citizen's view shot as well, and it works incredible.
Yeah.
So the first scene where like they're on an island and he attacks the crew, but it's like really like dimly lit. They can only use their torches to see where he is.
Yeah.
From their perspective, it's horrifying actually.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think Japan's they've definitely seized the franchise back, even though the American one is like going relatively strong.
I mean, it's making a lot of money, isn't it?
Definitely.
I think this franchise, I think there's 4 movies in it now. I think it's made $1 billion.
Yeah,
I think so. I'm not entirely. It's high millions if it's not $1 billion.
Yeah, actually, I think it's like 5 films if you count like Kong Skull Island. I think.
Which is, I do like Kong Skull Island.
I saw that when it came out. I enjoyed it enough. Yeah, it was just fun.
I hate Samuel Jackson is the best, worst person ever. I really hate him in that movie. He's so good at being a piece of shit.
Oh yeah, I love him. Yeah, but that scene though where he gets I'm sorry, spoiler alert. Where he gets taken out, but just like a giant fist. It's like, die you motherfucker. Language.
Language, exactly.
Yeah, classic.
So we've talked a little bit about, almost the not the metaphors, but like how the first Godzilla movie is almost a metaphor for the war, and this -1 is about fighting the bureaucracy and whatnot.
Yeah.
How do they manage to do those themes, do you think, but have terrible human characters? Like the human characters in the movies, I feel like are never. They're never. You don't go to this movie for one of them. I feel like some of them are better, some of them are worse, but you always come away with remembering the monster, but never the characters.
I think it's because like again it places you alongside the characters, so you see Godzilla. At least if you at least get the gist of what the characters are going through and what the perspective is like, and you see like. And you get like, of course, the classic citizen views of like Godzilla. You're able to take away the emotion of the film, spectacle of it, without actually feeling like you're actually remembering the characters as very remarkably written. That they're not exactly Guy Ritchie written characters, but no, they're still like.
The most memorable character for me was the assassin that blinked out of existence. I'm never going to forget that.
You remember for all the wrong reasons though, bro. It's just, they're one of the most hilarious setups.
I don't even remember his name. It doesn't matter.
I don't think his name is ever actually given. Just the man. The man with the glasses, It's the shades,
He shows up like 4 times in that movie, causes chaos the first couple, shoots some guy, disappears, steals a van, disappears. and shows him the last 5 minutes for a fight, and
it's like that's the ultimate cue in classic Japanese film. If you're ever like seeing some characters and then the camera zooms like to a close up of like a guy wearing some shades with like jet black hair, you know he's okay. That's the bad guy.
That's the bad, definitely.
I've never seen a film that goes against that stereotype. But it's classic. But yeah, what else? But yeah, I feel like the original Godzilla is definitely the only sort of an example of it. Well-written characters, because you get like you get a doctor who has like you see his personal like turmoil and trauma and the way he's trying to like see if he should use this weapon against Godzilla if humanity can use it for even greater destruction in the future. I think that's giving a moral crisis to our characters. I think is really what sells it in like to make the characters good. Yeah. Whereas in a lot of Godzilla films, I think they're pretty much just reacting to things. I think what's this?
Yeah,
what's this UFO or what's this Godzilla? Oh yeah.
I mean, I can go to the future and the past.
Yeah. Oh god, a dinosaur! Oh, a real dinosaur!
A real dinosaur!
Oh yeah, but that's cool. What's up? I have an interesting thing here I found like online where it's I had this like article I saw online and it was quite interesting. He brought up a couple of points.
Was it about the King Ghidorah movie? Or?
Yeah, the King Ghidorah film. It's says like he says the film is not without controversy. It's loaded with nationalism and ethnocentrism to a degree much greater I've seen in any of the Godzilla films, and you get a view of how how in 1991 how some of 1991 Japan saw itself after having rebuilt and modernized itself since World War II, where it's like whereas the film's very uncritical of soldiers and their leaders, and how these men are called the men who rebuilt Japan. So because in 1991 there were so many World War II vets who were older, like the CEO who in this film who is a veteran himself, and so the Japanese media like this was quick to sort of do a sort of glamorizing view of certain aspects of the history, whereas in this time exactly in 1991, Japan's economy had been growing a great deal for 2 decades with no end in sight. So it was built exactly at that time, which they thought the economic growth would continue undebated for 2 or 3 centuries, which didn't end up happening. But
I mean, the future people come back and obviously the lie they said was that it had fallen apart, but Japan is actually this huge economic power in the future. So it's
nice. It brought a nice twist of things, definitely. But the thing is, the film that came a few films after this, you have Godzilla 2000, which very contrastingly to this, it attacks it's basically seen as a punishment of Japanese citizen 2 or 3 or 4 generations removed from World War II, and so it seems it's critical about older generations. So Godzilla 2000, it seems like it's a film written by a young new generation person who can view history more critically, whereas this, which was released a few years before, was written by someone who had lived through it all and sees things through a more glamorous lens in a way. Even though that obviously there's the criticism about how dire future people's lives are with
what are their names again?
One of them's called Emmy.
No, I mean what do they call themselves? The Futurisms?
The future. Wait, what? God, I have this written somewhere. The Futurists. No. Futurians.
Futurians, yeah.
Oh no, it's the Futurians. Yeah, that's a good thing. But yeah, he even says there's a bit of Moby Dick in this, whereas the veteran, he personifies he glamorously views Godzilla as a protector.
Oh, I see. I can see. Okay, yeah.
As because he saved his troops, only to be disappointed when Godzilla is in fact a destroyer of humanity. So you can see his sadness reflects his real reflections regarding World War II, which obviously culminates in that scene where he meets Godzilla face to face and Godzilla blasts him, bringing pain from the past.
No remorse.
Yeah, it's a kind of funny way to cap that whole message off, but still.
What do you think? What do you think the message is in the 1998 Godzilla movie set in New York? What's the message of that one? Have you seen that one?
I've seen that one. it just comes across me as just a simple retelling of the Godzilla.
I think that was the first one I watched.
Yeah, same with me. I'm like, Godzilla doesn't look like how he looks in the pictures. What's this?
I had the soft puppet on that guy. I love that movie. I don't think it's the best movie either, but it's funny, it's funnier than a lot of the other Godzilla movies.
Yeah,
actually.
definitely.
But I think that's probably just a lot more of the Western influence.
Yeah, definitely in the dialogue it's a lot funnier. Whereas
that was Matthew Broderick in it, and I forget the guy's name, but
yeah, he did the job. Yeah, shall we call it wrap soon? Yeah, we need to get going. But yeah, with that, do you have any last comments, Adam, on this?
I think that if you haven't, give this one a shot.
Definitely.
If you like Godzilla, obviously, you give it a watch. If you don't, I think it's worth it. You know what you're about to get into, but have a good time with it.
Yeah.
I'd watch it again. And also, just Godzilla's great. And cheers to Godzilla.
Oh yeah, cheers indeed. I'd say this is a very good start to the Godzilla franchise if you haven't given it a shot already. And yeah, maybe this can be a gateway drug into one of the best franchises of all time. Yeah.
How many? Before we go, how many movies are there?
40, I think. Yeah.
40.
Oh yeah, rightfully so.
Holy moly, well done.
Oh yeah, King Ghidorah is a pretty good entry to the series, and all I can say is I recommend it. We recommend it. Go for it, and
we do.
Crack open an Asahi while you do it. Hell yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
And with that, that's the last episode of The World of Japanese Cinema for today. And tune in next week for a new classic by another director. Who is that? What is that? Well,
you'll find out what we do.
Oh yes, finished it for me. Anyway, take care, brothers.